You can hear it too, right? The ticking, you can hear it, can't you? Because it won't stop. Why won't it just stop? Is it getting faster or louder or something? Because I feel like I can't breathe. Why won't it just stop? It's gone. You swear you heard it too, right? I'm not going insane, am I? It was ticking. I swear it was ticking. I can't do this anymore. My name is Katie Weller, and over the course of the last year, I've been creating a body of work that encapsulates my personal journey through coping with my fear of silence as well as the continuation of time. My work is made of many layers, both physically and contextually, and it focuses on the experience of making work and draws attention to the process rather than just the end result. This conceptual way of thinking has allowed me to form a new appreciation for the steps it takes to be creative. This project idea all started with a photo shoot in the middle of the night. I was sat in the garden and I was taking some long exposure images, which took about 5 minutes each to make, and I could barely cope with it. It was the silence and the time that it took that I couldn't deal with. The waiting game scared me, and not being able to distract myself made me feel like I was losing my mind. However, the process of taking these images emphasised to me how important the journey of creating actually is, and how under certain circumstances I actually find this process incredibly difficult. I wanted to take my fear of silence and the continuation of time and test how much I could endure as a way of challenging myself. In order to do this, I had to put myself in uncomfortable situations, like sitting alone in silence while taking images, creating voice memos of my thoughts and emotions, and even spending time in an anechoic chamber to experience the closest thing you can get to true silence and darkness. It's back again. You can hear it, right? I can't focus like this. I'm freaking out. I'm so alone here and there's just nothing. There's nothing at all. This process has been anything but easy. I've been told that this project isn't photography and that I'm basically cheating by focusing on the theme of nothingness. But I've had to endure long periods of time sat in these moments that cause me fear, utter fear, in order to dissect my own feelings and emotions. I've had to talk about this fear and even learn about philosophical theories to do with time and space, which I knew could have potentially sent me into a spiral of negative thoughts or even depression. But I knew that in order for me to do this, I had to face these fears, even if that meant facing almost nothing. It feels cold in here. It's so empty and I can't even see myself anymore. I need to pretend this isn't happening so I can just feel normal again. A large part of my creative process was creating the imagery for the work. I wanted my photo shoots to capture the conceptual way of thinking through including the entirety of the shoots rather than just a select few images. By focusing on my experience during these moments, I have almost allowed for the images to feel more fluid and not just still moments of time, therefore reflecting on the real way in which we experience time. Roland Barthes states that the photograph does not necessarily say what is no longer, but only and for certain what has been. Introducing this idea of experience and also change within a period of time into my body of work has allowed for not just the images, but the pieces of display to match the continuation of time and perhaps change over the course of time in which it's on display for. Through my use of imagery, I was able to capture different measures of time, some that seemed to be fluid, but also moments of stillness. Not every photo came out the way I wanted it to, but that actually added another layer to my work. Usually people aim for perfection, but I was actually aiming to achieve imperfection, and this wasn't easy. We are told that things need to look a certain way, images should be evenly composed and perfectly in focus, but what if they aren't? Is that wrong? Because I was still there, I still captured that moment in time, just in a different way that maybe you can't see straight away. And learning to appreciate the process of trial and error and accept the natural process of image making has allowed for me to actually become a better storyteller. Through inspiration from artists such as Hiroshi Sugimoto, whose work focuses on exploring time and demonstrating our perception of it, as well as Joseph Kosuth, who creates work using his conceptual way of thinking to create unique displays, I have been able to educate my practice into different ways of capturing experience through imagery, but also the power of words. You're still there, aren't you? Please don't leave me alone. As I was saying, there is power in the words we use, and although this doesn't directly show visuals, we're able to use words to create our own form of imagery in our minds, kind of like what I do in these spaces of nothingness to actually keep me calm. The use of text and words has been such a key part of this entire project. I've been able to use this as a tool to express my emotions when sometimes the image didn't show it enough. The pieces of text don't just support the images, however. They are pieces that can stand alone while also pairing together to help to build a bigger picture of my experience. This interplay between images and words has created a layered experience, inviting viewers to interpret the work on multiple levels. A really important piece of text that is included in this body of work was my dissertation. It became a piece of experience of creating, as well as supporting and influencing the choices that I made when forming this piece. Physically including the dissertation on the wall gave contextual information, as well as 2 visual representations of time throughout the period of time it takes to read it, as well as the time it took me to write it. I chose to highlight every time I used the word time on my dissertation to further emphasise how this topic that causes me such fear has been constantly on my mind throughout the last year. I couldn't escape it, even though at times I wanted to. Hello, can anyone get me out of here, please? I need to get out, please. Help me, I can't be here anymore. When thinking about how I was going to present my work, I had one solid idea on how I wanted it to look. I want you to imagine some crazy scientist's desk. It's full of tests and experiments as he tries to answer this impossible question. It's chaotic but organised, filled with both successful and failed examples. This is what I envisioned, but just on a wall instead. To create variety in textures, I chose to print the images and text in different ways. Some were printed and mounted to create focal points, some on clear acrylic to show transparency, while others were printed on printer paper to show the fragility and limitations of time. One element I knew I wanted to include was having both images and text printed onto thermal paper, which is basically receipt paper. I was able to create these long strips of what I like to describe as my receipts of my own existence, proof I was there and that these moments actually happened. Adding all of these elements together created depth to the work, both physically and also contextually. The addition of clocks and timestamps creates confusion for the viewer in terms of their relationship to the work during the period of time they are viewing it, allowing them to think open-mindedly to whether these times have direct connection with any of the pieces of text or images. I specifically chose ticking clocks, so that when they were in a large crowd, they weren't loud enough to hear, but if you were alone, the sound would emphasise this, creating a sense of panic and isolation. The clock keeps ticking like it's rushing me or something. My time isn't up yet, is it? When will this end? This body of work has no definite end. Taking it off the wall in a couple of weeks doesn't mean it's finished. As of right now, I don't know when this work will be complete or if it ever will. Allowing the opportunity for change is what keeps this piece alive. As Immanuel Kant states, now changes are only possible in time, and therefore time must be something real. But there is no difficulty in answering this. I grant the whole argument. Time, no doubt, is something real, that is. It is the real form of our internal intuition. It therefore has subjective reality. In reference to our internal experience, that is. I have really the representation of time and of my determinations therein. Time, therefore, is not to be regarded as an object, but as a mode of representation of myself as an object. Kant here just further dissects how the process of change allows for us to see time as real. Otherwise, nothing would ever change. This body of work has taken strength to create. I faced challenges as well as some sort of relief from creating it. I am so grateful and proud to say that during my degree show launch night, I was awarded 2 different awards for this piece. One from my lecturers for research within photography, and the other from Format, as one of their graduate awards. To see people's reactions and experiences of this work has been amazing. It's shown for me that the audience's presence allows for the piece to actually exist within our existence. Reflecting on my journey, I've realised that the fear of silence and nothingness is a universal experience. And through my work, I hope to open a dialogue about these often ignored aspects of our existence and encourage viewers to embrace the unknown. So for now, I am not done creating. Not yet, anyway.